Hey, I'm Carissa and this is Carissa's Garden. Welcome back. Today, as you can see, I'm going to be talking about my favorite gardening books with a small side note with nature and things like that. So it kind of is the same topic, but maybe more of an expanded category. But anyway, I love books. There's something about having that physical copy right there that you can kind of pull off your shelf and reference to it quite often and almost get familiar with the same book. It's quite enjoyable for me. I do enjoy a lot of internet resources as well, and YouTube of course, but yeah, nothing compares to the book. So yeah, I thought I would go through a few or a dozen of my favorites. In no order at all. So anyway, if you're new here, I am Carissa, like I said, and I garden in Canada in South Central BC, Zone 4B. And this is a new year for me. A year ago, or over a year ago, we bought this acreage, and we've been, tinkering away with the vegetable garden, a lot of house renos, which took up the majority of the first year. But this spring, now, the new latest journey we are doing is a cut flower garden. So if you're interested in that, come back and join me as I learn and grow, figuratively and literally, and see what it's like to be a flower farmer in a small scale. So anyway, here's my first book. I'm sure if you are interested in flower farming or cut flowers in general, you've heard of Florette's Cut Flower Garden. This is from Erin Bezakine, maybe? And not only are the pictures so inspiring, there is some good information in here. And I did buy a lot of her seed packets, I think they're a husband and wife duo. Anyway, so I bought a lot of her seed packets, so I thought this would also be helpful. So I thought I would also show you some inside photos of the books, because I love going to our local bookstore chapters and just kind of opening the book and kind of sampling before I buy, which is such a great gift to be able to do before you buy the book. So I thought I would show you some of the insides of some of my books. She goes through how to start the seed, and of course places a big importance on the soil. We will be bringing in compost, which would be very helpful. Yeah, but like I said, the pictures in this book are just so inspiring. I think they're just gorgeous. The different types of woody stems you would want to cut from as well. So here are some lilacs. We have 2 lilacs on our property, but I think they're the same variety, so I would love to plant some more because they are deer resistant. I have never seen a deer, I don't think I've ever seen a deer eat a lilac bush, which is so nice. If you don't know, I live in a very high pressure deer zone. Oh yeah, and there's some cosmos. I can't wait for that to be me. It's just beautiful. So yeah, she definitely has some good instructions for seed starting, and then on a seed-to-seed basis, she explains what the specific needs are, which are handy, and then she even gives some instructions in how to arrange your blooms, which I think is really cool. Yeah, so definitely a good resource. Oh yeah, and then there's an autumn wreath. So yeah, that is definitely one of my favorites. New to me this year and quickly becoming one of my favorites. And then this one, this is called The Flower Farmer, by Lynn Bajkzinski. I'm sorry. Yeah, this one is more of a reference guide. A little bit, down to the nitty gritty of how to grow and the methods and what is beneficial. The Cut Flower Garden does have that too from Florette, but this one seems to be a little bit deeper into the methods. Here it's talking about holding and blooming peonies. So I've read just over a third, almost a half of it, and I'm quite enjoying it. But it's a heavier read. It's definitely information heavy, which is what I'm looking for. So yeah. And then it goes into stories from personal farmers, which is nice. Everybody does things so differently. There can be someone who's, you know, growing in a 3x10 bed, right? Or there could be someone growing in 310 acres. Actually, I've never heard of that, but you know what I mean? Like, there are a wide variety of different flower farms out there. So to read the personal stories of each farm and how they differ. And then one story I read was even like shifting gears, you know, like during the pandemic, they were doing one thing and then they had to kind of switch gears and, you know, I don't know if it went from lettuce to flowers or vice versa, but it was interesting to hear, you know, like, yeah, the different paths that we can take. Yeah, and then there's an appendix, which is nice, and it goes through all, well, this one is a perennial list of plants with a lot of information. I've already kind of gone and referenced this as I've been growing, just to see what each plant needs, because a lot of the seeds I'm growing, or the plants I'm growing, are very new to me. So having books like this that you kind of, you know, it's like an encyclopedia where you just dive in and you just go alphabetical. Okay, yeah, that's what I need to know. You close it and you go back when you need more information. So yeah, I definitely have really enjoyed that book. Now this one is more of just a nature book, keeping a nature journal. So I homeschool my children. They are at home with me all day. No, I am not crazy. We really enjoy it. And part of our schooling is we do try to keep nature journals. And I think this goes with gardening, so I'm not ashamed to include it in this video. I think being aware and slowing down and really noticing how plants grow is part of being a better gardener and a better farmer and a better whatever you have it. So nature journaling has been really beneficial for my children and I. And this book is just another inspiring book. I think I'm going to say that a lot during this video. So this is by Claire Walker Leslie and Charles E. Roth. And it is just, it's just beautiful. I think slowing down, like I said, and noticing, you know, I think the first year that I realized that the buds on fruit trees were coming in the winter, you know, something that you would assume that happens in the spring or later in the year, but really it's developing over the winter in the cool seasons, and slowing down and noticing that is just, it's pretty enjoyable. So yeah, these are very natural drawings, but they just, you know, the goal is just to kind of sit down a couple times a week. Not that I do that, but sit down, you know, give it 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Last year we drew all the fruit blooms and the buds and then the actual fruit, and we kind of saw the progression of each fruit in our orchard, because we have apple, pear, plum, cherry, and apricot. Although we didn't get any apricots, so that one we weren't able to document. But yeah, it was so neat just to see how the blooms are different and how the fruit obviously is different on each one. Yeah, slowing down and noticing things. So not definitely, or sorry, so not a gardening book per se, but if you like gardening, you probably like nature. And this one also is not specifically a gardening book, but it is a lot of fun. So on the back, I'll just read this. From 1/4 of an acre, you can harvest 1,400 eggs, 50 pounds of wheat, 60 pounds of fruit, 2,000 pounds of vegetables, 280 pounds of pork, and 75 pounds of nuts. So this is sort of like, you know, it gives you the micro farm idea, and then it goes all the way to an acre or two, and what you can produce and how to be a little bit more self-sufficient. Yeah, I like this type of thing. I'm not much of a homesteader. Even the fruit trees that we have on our property weren't planted by me. No, I planted one. But anyway, I grow a veggie garden, and I would love chickens one day. But anyway, this is another inspiring book that just, you know, gives you ideas and breaks it down into steps for people who haven't, like myself. I grew up in the city. I haven't grown up on a chicken farm or that type of thing. So a lot of these types of things are new to me. So it's really nice to have it broken down. How to prune blueberries, growing your own ginger, herbs, cooking with herbs, planting your own wheat field. You never know when we might need to start growing our own grains, making your own pasta, growing your own beer, or I guess the hops and then the beer. And then it gets into meat and cattle and chickens. Anything that you would do on a homestead, I'm pretty sure this book includes. So yeah, this is a lot of fun. It's more of a dreaming book, I would say, because I don't think I'll ever have a cow on our property. But you know, it's interesting to see how one would go about that. Yeah, so that's definitely a fun one. And this one, the Year-Round Vegetable Garden. This lady lives in Nova Scotia. Her name is Nikki Jabor, and she grows all year round, which is unbelievable. You can see there's snow on the cover, and she is harvesting spinach and lettuce and onions, which is super cool. I did try this. I didn't put a lot of effort into it, so my spinach did wilt. Because there are certain limitations to every zone we live in and every season we live in, or every season that comes by. There's no, I don't know if there's this one says 365 days, but again, I didn't put a ton of effort into my spinach. So maybe that was part of it. Maybe or probably. But anyway, it's kind of exploring, you know, making the mini greenhouses or the cold frames and that type of thing so that you can produce the cold hardy vegetables longer. And it did work for me longer. Like I did harvest vegetables later into the year than I would have without my cold frame. I just had a little box that went on top that had, you know, the plastic glass. I'm at a loss for words. It's similar to this, but you know, just a kit that I had bought off of Amazon. So anyway, this is a really fun book too. Oh yeah, so here's her year in the life of her cold frame. It shows in spring, they're harvesting lettuce. And then it talks about in the summer, you know, that's when we're harvesting a lot. And in the fall, it starts to go into the more cold tolerant. And then winter, she's pulling out the carrots that she had planted in the fall. So yeah, this is a fun one. And then it even goes into vegetable by vegetable categories of what their requirements and needs and wants are, which is very helpful. Yeah, I've enjoyed this one a lot too. And then this book I bought at our old house. So before this acreage, we lived in the city, and we had a decent sized city lot, but we were using every square foot of our backyard and front yard, I would say. Well, maybe not front yard, but nobody really wants to put a vegetable garden in the front yard. Anyway, actually no, some people might want to, but anyway, we were using we were outgrowing our backyard, and we had built a beautiful raised bed garden with a fountain in the middle and a beautiful grape arbor, and it was sad to see it go, but we really wanted a little bit more space for the family. So anyway, we moved here. I'll see if I can put a picture of what that looked like. Like I said, I really enjoyed it, and I used every square foot of the garden thanks to this book. Yeah, I planted everything, and it was really enjoyable, really enjoyable. So this book is, as you can see, square foot gardening. You don't need to have this lattice type of template in your garden, but it's just kind of giving you the idea of planting in these little cubic feet segments, just to get the most out of your garden, which was super, super handy because our garden in our old house was about 4x8 times 2, and then we had raspberry and strawberry beds. So we had a very small vegetable garden, but I was able to produce quite a lot using this method. So our new vegetable garden is quite a lot bigger. 6 times bigger, 10 times bigger. I'm not sure, but we have the space here, obviously. It's an acreage. So I don't need to use this method, but for the sake of production and harvesting more, I probably will. And I failed a little bit last year. I didn't do the square foot gardening last year because we had built the garden. It was brand new. We were just filling in the soil before I was planting. So it was almost like too much at the same time. And I just wanted to throw in my seeds, throw in my seedlings, and just see it happen. Whereas this year I have a little bit more time to slow down, and I can even direct sow in March and April some of the cold hardy seeds or plants. So yeah, I'm gonna slow down and do things a little bit better, because as beautiful as the vegetable garden was last year, I think I showed it in a previous video. I'll pop in a photo. It was beautiful. It produced amazing potential, I'll say, but the actual harvest wasn't as big as it could have been. And you know what? It was a new space, so I'm gonna give myself a break on that, because the soil was disrupted, you know, brand new boxes built, so that's okay. Anyway, so this is yeah, I'll see if I can find a good picture kind of showing you how they're grown. And then it talks about growing vertically too, as you can see here, just to you know, expand your space and use every little bit. So yeah, that is the method it's talking about. Not every plant will want to be in a 1 by 1 foot area. So it does talk about the differences in the sizes and that type of thing. You can't imagine a pumpkin probably in a 1 by 1 foot spot. But yeah, for the most part, like if you think about carrots, what do they need? A couple inches apart, right? So you can put quite a few in one foot section. So yeah, that's nice. He even goes into his mix. He calls it Mel's Mix. Oh, sorry, this is by Mel Bartholomew. And I think he's kind of the leader of the movement. I think it was a brand new movement before he came upon it. I think he was growing in a quite a small yard. And he thought, why not challenge the status quo and see if I can do things a little bit better than the typical row garden. Well, here's a good picture showing the square feet. Yeah, so that's another good one. This is also not a gardening book, but a nature book, and it's just really interesting to me. So it's called The Lost Art of Reading Nature Signs by Tristan Gooley. And yeah, I haven't read the whole thing yet, but it's very information heavy. Like I was talking about The Flower Farmer being like a reference heavy book, right? This is the exact same. I have to slow down and kind of chew on the words for a little bit just to kind of understand this whole new way of looking at nature and kind of recognizing, oh, I see this, so that means this, right? So yeah, it's really interesting. Use outdoor clues to find your way, predict the weather, locate water, track animals, and other forgotten skills. So I think, you know, our culture is so busy and we want now, but slowing down and kind of like, you know, why does that side of the tree have more leaves than the other side? And that type of thing, and noticing things and really investing in nature and kind of seeing what's happening around us. So yeah, I really enjoy that book. This one I just picked up yesterday. I thought it was time to start researching how to arrange flowers. And after looking at reviews online, there are so many flower arrangement books, but this one really stuck out. So this is called Cultivated, The Elements of Floral Style by Kristen Gial. And let me tell you, it is not dry. It is hilarious. Her writing style is so energetic and playful and sassy and fun and more. But she also is walking the talk. She knows what she's talking about, if you know what I mean. She has a background in art history, in, I don't know, all these different things. So she combines it all and tells you about what is the artistic side of it, okay, and then what is the practical side of gardening, like even growing your flowers she starts with, and then what the flower wants after it's been cut and things like that. So it is a refreshing read indeed. Sound like a book reviewer. A refreshing read indeed. So anyway, I just got this yesterday, so yeah, I've only read a couple pages of it, but her design here, let me show you. Well, that one's really pretty. It's probably not my favorite, but it's really pretty. And interestingly enough, she doesn't break down the steps needed to make an arrangement like this. She almost pushes you a little bit further than that, because she is a professor too, I will say. I think in horticulture or agriculture, something like that. So being the teacher in her, it sounds like her method of teaching is more so finding your own unique style, which is so amazing and more beneficial, right? Anyone can copy or try to copy a step-by-step, you know, six steps to a beautiful bouquet, that type of thing. But finding your own style and your own artistic element within floristry is, I think, going to be a longer road, but a better road in the long run. Yeah, so enjoying this already. She talks about vessels, color. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll show you this one. If that doesn't make you just smile, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you shouldn't be watching my channel. Anyway, that one's a new favorite. I've probably said that about all of them. And then if you watched my Lee Valley order unboxing, you saw I bought one of these. This is a 10-year garden journal, and it's more of the documentation side of things. So just keeping up with things and also recognizing, you know, what your skills are and what you need to grow on. And again, with the paying attention to nature, right? Like, oh, spring came a little bit earlier this year, and we had way more snow last year, and that type of thing. So kind of a more boring book, but there's a definite benefit to keeping all this data. This one I bought a few weeks ago, or maybe a month ago. It was just a really good price. I think it was like less than $20. And it's a topic I love. So being on an acreage, the kids and I, well, our whole family, we all love seeing the birds and the bees and the snakes. All of that comes around to visit. And just kind of recognizing the healthy ecosystem that is going around. And even though, you know, finding a snake underneath the deck is not, you know, the most peaceful experience, it's necessary, right? So kind of appreciating the whole circle of the ecosystem that's going on around us. And also, you know, gardening to promote a healthy ecosystem. So yeah, this one has been a lot of fun. It is, who made this? Christine and Michael Lavelle. And the way it's done, it's sort of written, I don't know, in a learning style. I don't know what the word is for this, but in a way where you can kind of grasp it and implement it into your own yard. And I really appreciate it. It says over 40 step-by-step projects and a directory of more than 70 common species of wildlife. Yeah, so it's been good. I built a pond last year to help with the wildlife, and it was amazing just to see the amount of dragonflies and the frogs, and the birds used it, and it was a lot of fun. It's not done, my pond, so maybe I'll put a picture in right now into the screen, but I'm not done with it. It needs something. I had a lot of fun building it. My kids were away at camp and I decided to build it. But it feels like it needs a little bit more. Definitely some landscaping around the upper area, and then kind of manicuring the edge that is beside the lawn would be nice. But yeah, it'll be a progressive thing. And then here's the directory of garden wildlife. So obviously the butterflies and the moths and the bees and a pheasant. We don't have any pheasants, I don't think. At least not that I've seen. We have grouse. Similar, maybe. Yeah. Insect-eating birds, spiders. yeah, so just kind of welcoming the wildlife instead of thinking like, oh, bugs, squish it, right? They all have a place in our garden, and it's better for us as humans to have them around, and it's better for the plants that are around us. So yeah, that's definitely a good book. I was happy to find that one. And then here is how I can maybe have a fence-free garden. So yeah, for the most part of our property, it's fenced, but it's more so like a paddock fence, like a horse, to keep a horse in. So the deer easily jump it, obviously. So I need deer-resistant plants. And besides the cut flower garden and the vegetable garden, which the vegetable garden is fenced 8 feet high, and the cut flower garden will be as well. But everything else is open to their browse, the deer's browse. So this book is super, super practical. I think it goes through, I don't know, 20 or 10 different gardens and the plan they have and how it's going, and just beautiful pictures to go along with it. So I'll show you. Here is a map of someone's property, and then it even goes into the specific bushes and what they look like, and a little bit of the owner's story of the garden and how it evolved and how it got to where it is now. But just stunning. So this one has been really enjoyable. Oh, and then each gardener that they visit, like each homeowner, will go through their top 10 plants, which you take with a grain of salt, because deer in different parts of North America have different taste buds, I think. So what works for one gardener may not work for another in another high pressure deer zone. But yeah, really nice. It's just, there's something about getting the whole feel for someone's property, you know, just gives you a good view into it. Okay, the last two are also nature books, not really gardening books. So foraging with kids, just kind of seeing what's out there for us that are edible and what is not edible to stay away from, because it's something you want to promote and encourage with your children, but then, you know, you would feel awful if they ended up getting sick from the mushroom in the backyard that they shouldn't have eaten. So yeah, here's one example, pineapple weed. And I think it even talks about how to harvest it without, you know, ruining future production and things like that, and what the benefits are, and even some recipes to go with it. So yeah, that one's going to be fun. We haven't done a lot with it. And then last one is the Handbook of Nature Study. And I would argue that this is good for gardeners too, because it goes through, well, it's massive, but it goes through even weeds and fruit trees, and it breaks up their, you know, the whole idea of what the anatomy, that's the word I'm looking for, the anatomy of each plant, and how it reproduces and how it grows, and the benefits and all these different things that our human brains don't take the time to absorb, right? If we sat down and just watched a dandelion grow, we would learn so much. And that goes for any species out there. So anyway, here I had some thistle growing in the area that I'm going to be growing my cut flower garden. So I ripped it all out, because every seed head holds thousands of seeds, and thistle is so annoying. Like, it just grows with this thick stalk, and it's a horrible weed we have in our area. So I wanted to get ahead of the game and pick it all out ahead of time. So I did. But anyway, as I was looking through this book to see if it kind of pertained to this video, I thought, hey, that's the weed that I was pulling out the other day that got thistles all over my hand with gloves. Like, it's just a horrible weed. So anyway, I think this would pertain to gardening, so it's fun. Oh, so sorry, this is from Anna Botsford Comstock, and it is huge. It is a big book. I hope one day I will be able to read this whole book, but it is just a huge resource for all different plants. It talks about trees and trees in the winter, how to begin tree studying, or the study of trees, how an apple grows. This one I read this a few years ago, and I thought it was so interesting. Another thing we don't really take the time to notice, but if you look at how an apple blossom is formed. And then if you think about cutting through an apple, I guess around the equator, right through the center, it looks so similar to the blossom. So that just gives you a view into how it was formed, which is just neat. Very neat to look through. Anyway, these are some of my beloved books, and they're a lot of fun to look through, especially on cold days where, you know, you can't really go outside and do a lot besides just look. All the soil is still hard and not workable. So yeah, this gives us ideas for the future and practical tips on how to do things. And yeah, they're just very nice to have indeed. A lot of internet resources will give you maybe more information, you could argue, but there's just, yeah, a real benefit to having it in hand. Yeah, so I hope you guys are all enjoying your day wherever you are. Here in Canada, it was in the pluses. It was, I think, plus 12. I don't know if that's in the 50s Fahrenheit or 55, something like that. But anyway, it was beautiful, and the sky was blue. I took my dogs on a nice walk down our road, and it was just really, really fun to get outside and just soak in the fresh air. So thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time.